Morning, everybody. How did you feel about returning to school? Were you a bit worried? Were you upset? Were you a bit blasé? I'm hoping most of you were really happy about coming back. Regardless of how you felt, you've now been back in school for 2 weeks, and I know from talking to a lot of you that actually it feels really good to be back. It hasn't been quite the adjustment you were anticipating, and actually what a lot of you have said, and I think teachers would agree, is that you've kind of got used to it. What I'm sure of is that in the first few days in school, you were reintroduced to attitudes to learning. And that's not a surprise, because from our perspective, attitude to learning is the recipe for success in school. And what we know is that if you can maximize those 5 kind of aspects of your character, then you're going to overcome any barriers that you've got in your way. And you need to use it. What I want to talk about today and focus on is one aspect of that, which is resilience. And what do we mean by resilience? Well, there's a definition there that resilience is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. And there's lots of other ways of thinking about it. So we might talk about being flexible, pliable, durable, being strong, being tough, being hardy. We might even talk about being able to bounce back from any of those setbacks. What it doesn't mean, which is just as important, is that it doesn't mean you don't get upset or frustrated or despondent or question if you can succeed. In fact, being resilient means having another go in spite of those things, so that even though something might upset you when it goes wrong or happens, even when you're frustrated that you can't get something done, that actually that's a momentary thing. And what happens is you get back to having a go, because it's the giving up that actually stops you from achieving that success in the long run. And human beings are, as this quote alludes to, pretty good at being resilient. It's one of our most enduring qualities and one of the things that's made us the kind of successful species that we are. What I want to do is kind of talk through 3 examples which just emphasize how amazing human beings can be and just what they can bounce back from and cope with and still be successful. So my first example is this young lady, Tilly Lockey, and that's a photograph of her when she was about 4 years old. And what you'll notice is that she doesn't have any hands. Now, she was born with hands, but when she was about 15 months old, she had to have her hands and the tips of her toes amputated because she got an illness called meningitis. And her resilience has been to cope with life in spite of that loss. So she was the first British child to have 3D printed bionic arms, and you can see those in the photograph to the left there. And since she's received those, she's travelled around the world to promote this technological breakthrough. She's won lots of awards in recognition of the way that she's dealt with a disability, and she's even managed to learn how to play the piano, which is quite remarkable. And it's partly for this reason that she was chosen, and this is why she made the news last week, to front a new Sky News programme for children called For Your Information. And what she said was that in taking that job, she's hoping that she can inspire other young people with disabilities and those without to talk about issues that she cares about and to inspire them to actually show the kind of resilience that she's done to be as successful as she obviously is now. The second person I want to talk about is Kira O'Connell Fitzgerald, and that's a Snapchat photo of her from about 12 months ago. And in that photograph, she's obviously got no hair. And the reason for that was linked to the illness that she found out about just a few months before that photograph was taken. There she is from just a few weeks ago, having opened her A-level results. So Kira started to feel a pain in her chest just at the time she was doing her GCSEs in 2018. And at first she thought it was anxiety because exams are a kind of a nervous time. But actually, when that didn't go away and she went for further tests, she found out that she'd got a rare form of blood cancer. And at the time, teachers gave her the opportunity to resit the year at a later date, but Kira was absolutely determined that she didn't want to fall behind. And she carried on studying, even though she was having to go through the treatment for the cancer. Then, in the midst of her getting her chemotherapy, which is the reason why she lost her hair, COVID happened. And because of that, and because she was particularly vulnerable, she wasn't allowed to go into school, and she had to work from home. Throughout that time, she carried on working, doing some of the work that teachers set, and when she found out that her exams were cancelled, even then, she carried on studying just in case that was going to make a difference. And when she opened her results just a few weeks ago, she found out that she'd got 2 A grades and a B grade in her A levels, and that was enough for her to go off to university and to study biomedical science, something that she was absolutely determined to do because she'd been inspired by the doctors that had helped her in hospital while she was getting the treatment. And the third and final person that I want to talk about is Rick Rescorla, and there he is in his military uniform. Now, Rick was associated with an event that had its 19th anniversary last Friday, which was the September 11th attacks. And Rick, as you can see from his uniform, had already won quite a few medals in the American Army. He'd fought in the Vietnam War, and after retiring from the Army, had got a job working as the head of a security organisation in the World Trade Center towers. When on that fateful day, on the 9th of September 2001, a plane flew into one of the towers, Rick overrode the kind of instructions from the rest of the tower to stay where they were. What he did was realise that there was incredible danger and encouraged his company to send all of their staff out of the building as quickly as possible. So his response saved about 2,700 of his co-workers, and he actually escorted people down the stairwells. Many of them had to go down over 100 staircases to get from the floor that they were on. And while he did that, he was singing songs to kind of keep their spirits up. When he eventually got out of the tower, his wife was calling. She knew that he was there. She saw the events playing out on television. And his response was to tell her to stop crying because he'd got to get back in there to get people out to safety. Now, Rick was last seen on the 10th floor of the South Tower, and he'd head back up to look for any stragglers. Unfortunately, he was caught in the tower when that tower collapsed, and his body was never actually found. But in that moment, in those few minutes that he managed to get people out and actually go back into the tower to find any survivors, he demonstrated quite incredible resilience. So what can we learn from these examples? Well, what they tell us is that people don't choose to be resilient. It's something that happens. They respond to events. In all 3 cases, we can see that. It also tells us that you don't have to be old to be resilient. You can be very young and demonstrate resilience as well. It also tells us that being resilient isn't easy. It's not something that happens without effort and without, in some cases, some hardship. Being resilient can benefit you, but it also can benefit others as well. And what we also need to recognise is that resilience is something that you can develop. So, as any quality, the more you practice, the more you try to demonstrate it, the better that quality becomes. What it's worth keeping in mind, however, is that just because you're strong and resilient doesn't mean that you never need somebody to be there for you, to take care of you. Being resilient doesn't mean you've got to do things on your own. So who's there for you in terms of demonstrating resilience? Well, there's your family, there's your friends, but in school you've also got your mentor who can offer that support, teachers, achievement leads, and people in student services. What it's important to remember is that your journey through school is a team effort. And while there's a part of it that falls on you to demonstrate that resilience, it's not that you've got to do that on your own. So this week, with those things in mind, what I would like you to do is to reflect on the following questions. So, having been back in school for about 2 weeks, where have you already shown resilience since coming back? It's important to reflect on that and to recognise where you've done it, because that's going to help you to develop that resilience going forward. And looking ahead for the rest of this half term, where are you going to need to show resilience? And think about who you could have to support you with that, because remember, it's not something you've got to do on your own. So thank you for listening. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Hunt, who's going to talk to you about standards and some of the issues around that. I hope you have a good week. Speak to you again soon.
Good morning. There's a number of things I wanted to run through with you in this assembly this morning. First of all, I want to say thank you and well done. And that's for how quickly the majority of you have adapted to the changes we've had to put in place since we've returned to school. Quite quickly, students have got to grips with new start and finish times, new arrangements for break and for lunch, and they've coped really well, and a thank you for doing so. There are, however, a number of students that need a polite reminder about our expectations and our standards, and there are a few things I want to remind all students about. First of all, please make sure when you arrive at school and leave school at the end of the day that you do use the correct gate entrance. This is really important. It helps us maintain the year group bubbles that we work hard to maintain to keep you safe throughout the school day. As part of this, you must be wearing your wristband. It's really important. And I've had a number of students coming up to me saying, I've lost my wristband, it snapped, my dog ate it. But please make sure you're looking after it. It really needs to be considered as part of your uniform. It's an inconvenience to you if you lose it, because members of staff won't know necessarily which year group you belong to, and therefore whether you should be allowed into the hall or the hub at lunchtime, and it may cause a delay for you rather than an inconvenience for staff. With regard to uniform, we're really pleased. We're delighted, in fact, with how smart everybody looks. There are a few exceptions, and we have spoken to those students about addressing issues with the numbers of earrings they might have in each ear, whether they have their nose pierced, whether their shirts are untucked, ties are detached, or whether they're wearing trainers. We know it's a single stud in each ear. We know you're not meant to have your nose piercing in. We know you must be wearing formal school shoes. Shirts should be tucked in at all times, and your ties should be attached. Please work hard to make sure you do meet our standards. This links nicely to the fact we've got conduct cards, and again, most students have adapted to the fact we have conduct cards and have been presenting those to members of staff. I've actually enjoyed writing some positive things in those cards, but you will know that if your shirts are untucked or you've got multiple piercings in each ear, you know that members of staff will make that comment in your conduct card. They must be with you at all times. Please look after them. Again, a bit like the wristbands, make sure they're available, make sure you know where they are, make sure they don't end up in a washing machine, because losing the conduct card, again, will result in a detention. So please respect that process like the majority of you have. And some students are really proud of the fact that they've not got any comments in there yet, and I hope that continues throughout the school year. With regard to lunch times, I do have some concerns. My concerns are primarily around Year 7. Year 7 students, you do need to consider the fact that at secondary school we don't run around on yards, on grass areas. We do sit, we socialise with our friends, we have our lunch, we have a drink to make sure we're refreshed and ready for learning after break and after lunch. So I will be keeping a close eye on you, as will other members of staff, as to your conduct, how you're running around, rolling around on the grass for example. Those things do need to stop. You will be spoken to by a member of staff if they see that you see you doing that, and again, they may well put an entry onto your conduct card. Our standards are high, our expectations are high, and by and large, and I'll go back to my thank you at the start of my message, we're really pleased. But there are a few students that do need to think, as we start a new school week or halfway through the week, think about how they're conducting themselves and whether their behaviour and their conduct could result in a member of staff having to speak to them. Thank you.